Hi everybody. So are you looking to improve the overall drivability and stability and handling of your RV? Well, one thing you can do is to do what I'm doing, and that is to upgrade or replace your existing anti-sway bars with this heavy-duty sway bar. In the first video I showed you how to replace the front anti-sway bar, and today we're going to replace the rear anti-sway bar. So stick around, that's our project for the day. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to replace the rear anti-sway bar on my Class C motorhome. We're first going to remove the stock anti-sway bar and replace it with this heavier duty upgraded one. The company I chose to go with for this product is named Hellwig, and they make a lot of suspension based products for trucks and things like that. And this kit that I ordered online comes with all the parts you need to do the install. The nice thing about this kit is that it doesn't require any special drilling or any unusual tools or special tools. You can do the job with basic hand tools such as wrenches, sockets, and maybe a little mallet to knock things in place. But let's take a look at the components that make up the sway bar and the tools we're going to need today. So I've gone ahead and laid out the sway bar and its components on this next to my motorhome, and pre-assembled some just to make it easier to understand. So let's take a look. So there's the rear anti-sway bar. It's kind of shaped similar to the old one, and we're going to use some of the existing hardware that mounts to the frame, some of the bolts that are currently in place. So we're going to replace the existing bracket that holds the sway bar to the bolts it to the frame with this new one. It's got a kind of a D-shaped bushing that goes on here, and we're going to put a little bit of grease on the inside to keep it from squeaking. And then that's going to be, oops, that's going to clamp on, that's going to go over the sway bar like so, and it's going to clamp, or it's actually going to bolt to the frame using the existing screws or bolts that we're going to remove. So there's one on each side. There's two of these, and I've gone ahead and pre-assembled these end link points with this. So we're going to replace the existing hardware with this L-shaped bracket. And I've gone ahead and put the bolts in place that are going to hold the end, such as that, the end of the sway bar onto the RV. So what it's gonna look like is there's some bushings in here that are gonna go inside this hole, such as that, and then this L-shaped bracket is gonna bolt to the side of the frame. Okay, and all the kit comes with all these things, and there's one on each side. And let's take a look at some of the tools. Okay, these are some of the tools that I'm going to use for this install, and as you can see, it's just a mixture of sockets, ratchets, and wrenches. There's some specific sizes you're going to need. Also, on the sockets, I decided to go with the deep sockets because some of the areas where you need to get to, they're kind of in recessed a little bit, and the deep socket seems to work out a lot better for that. So there's the ones I have here. Actually, this is a 15 millimeter deep socket. I'm not going to need this on the rear, but I did need this on the front to unscrew the bolt for one of the brackets. So those are 15 millimeter. Specifically on the rear component here, those it uses a 5/8 inch bolt, so I'm going to need a 5/8 inch socket. Removing the existing hardware needed a 9/16 socket and wrench, or possibly just a wrench. This is a 3/4 inch socket that was used primarily on the front, and I believe these bolts here are 3/4 inch also. So 3/4 inch is going to be a standard size for this. I have a standard ratchet. I have a mixture of wrenches that I'm going to use. Probably just a good idea to have kind of a mixture of things. You never know what you're going to need. I have a long handle ratchet to loosen up some of those really tight bolts, and finally a torque wrench. So when you're done putting it all together, you're going to have to torque it down to the specified torque, and that's specified in the instructions that came with the kit. So so those are the tools. I'm going to go ahead and crawl underneath now, and we're going to take off the old anti-sway bar and get started on the replacement. So let's do it. Okay, now taking a look at the existing stock sway bar in the rear, you can see it bolts onto the frame up here. This piece here, we're going to remove this, and there's a L-shaped bracket that we're going to install, and the bushings are going to attach to the sway bar. So the bar, as it stands now, goes, you can see where it is mounted to the axle right there, and it actually goes around the axle to the other side. The same sort of setup. So we're just going to go ahead and remove that bracket right there, keep those screws, and install the new bar. Okay, now that I've got the rear sway bar removed from the motorhome, I got them laid out on the garage floor here, so you can side by side, so you can kind of see the difference between stock bar and the new Hellwig bar. First of all, by lifting it up, you can tell it's much heavier as this bar, which is a lot lighter. So the diameter, if you look at my thumb, it's quite a bit different. So it should give the advertised increase in stability, keeping me lower, flatter on the turns and the rear end. So I'm gonna finish up tomorrow. It's getting kind of dark outside, so I'm gonna pick this up probably tomorrow and get the rear bar installed. Alright, now that I'm ready to install the rear sway bar, anti-sway bar, I'm going to pre-assemble some of these pieces, and then before I attach it to the frame. So the first thing I'm going to do is take these D-size bushings, which are going to go around this part of the sway bar and mount to the frame. First thing I want to do is put a little bit of grease inside here to keep the bushing from squeaking a little bit. Apparently that can happen. So the instructions recommend a little bit of grease during the install, just to keep any movement, if there is any, from making any noise. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a little light grease in there. The kit didn't come with any grease, so I'm just using some that I had in the garage. And this just comes over like this. There we go. That's one. And I'll do the other side. Okay, now the rear bar is in place. Everything's all installed and torqued down. Let's go in there and take a look. Okay, here's a shot of the end link assembly. You can tell it's you can see it's bolted to the frame, and then that with 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch bolts. And here's the end link assembly itself attached to the tow bar. You can see that it's attached to this L bracket that we just looked at, which is attached to the frame. Sorry for it's a little jumpy, but crawling around on the ground at the moment. Ouch. And just banged my head. A little pain there. Okay, so here's the end link assembly. You see the bushings in there, spacer hooked to the end of the sway bar. And we reused the bolts from the original. There you go. Some more light there. You reuse the bolts for the for that bracket that holds that in place. You can see it goes around the rear axle. There's another one on that side, and the second end link assembly on the other side. Just kind of same as the other one. But here we go. I'm excited to actually test this sucker out. Okay, so I'm glad to have this part of the project complete with the front and rear anti-sway bars installed. I'm really anxious to get the shock absorbers installed and see how my rig handles after all these upgrades. So I'm on my way home now after getting my new shock absorbers installed and the front end aligned. So this is the first time driving the RV with anti-sway bars installed and new shock absorbers. I have to say this is a completely different ride. Behind the wheel there's no bouncing around at the steering wheel. Went from driving a bouncy, a little bit hard to control RV to more like driving a Suburban or an SUV. So this is really an amazing transformation behind the wheel, and a lot more stable on the turn. Every time I take a turn, I'm kind of expecting a little bit of pulling and a little bit of leaning, and it just doesn't happen. It just goes right around the corner. So even coming on the on-ramp or turning onto a freeway or anything like that. So this is really probably one of the best things I've ever done to the RV so far. Very cool. So I'm going home, gonna get it ready for the next trip, and I can't wait to take it on the highway and stress test these new components on the RV. So highly recommend this if you have a Class C. You know, getting the anti-sway bars installed or upgraded. This has really been. I'm really happy with this, how this turned out. So if you want to read more about this project and all the components and what I did, go to rvwithtito.com and have fun out there and have a great time RV. See you guys later. I gotta change lanes.